I'm going to start with a question from David by email. He writes, since I last purchased your Cozy Cabin course, that's one of a handful of online courses I make and sell and teach, to get me started on building my own cabin. Progress has been slow but steady. I had the property cleared, a well drilled, graded the building area higher due to spring water issues, and installed a manual well pump. Hope to start the foundation soon. Strongly considering screw piles. With that being said, I have another question for you. From talking to neighbors, I found out that keeping warm during the winter months is a major concern, especially on a pier-type foundation. So that would be a building raised above the ground with an open space underneath, not enclosed or heated in any way. I have talked to some professionals about this too, and the solution seems to be that I need to have a continuous thermal barrier on top of the subfloor. And I would strongly agree with that. And then David goes on to give me a link here with the kind of insulation he's thinking of. And then followed by another layer of subfloor on top of the insulation and then the finished floor. What are your thoughts? Well, what David is planning to do is actually what I teach in the course. And I like it a lot. I've never seen anyone else do this before, but I can assure you that it works very well. If you've got a raised floor and you want to have warm feet in the wintertime, the tendency is to stuff some fiber-based bats under there and hope for the best. That's not going to do much good. First of all, it's not going to make much of a difference because there's all kinds of air movement through that insulation, so it's going to be highly ineffective. Having fiber bats underneath the floor is also going to attract mice. They love that stuff. They'll burrow in and make nests and make a terrible mess. I have seen in time these bats fall out too, because every time you walk on the floor there's a little bit of vibration and it shakes the bat down, and unless you have something physical to hold it in place, it's just going to fall out. So I don't like that at all, but what I much prefer is to put extruded polystyrene foam sheets on top of the existing subfloor, and then another layer of plywood on top. I like 5/8 inch plywood for that, with screws driven right down through the top subfloor, through the foam, through the underlying subfloor, and then about 1.5 inches or so, at least 1.5 inches, into the underlying joists. So this creates a continuous barrier. Mice, squirrels, whatever, can't get into it because it's inside your house. It's not exposed underneath, and it just works really, really well. Now, if you 2 inches would be a minimum, I should say. That's not enough to meet code requirements for floor insulation where I live, but you can add more to get up to the specs you need. Now, the thing to understand is if you want warm feet in wintertime, then you're going to need more than just a well-insulated floor. In my experience, you can have as well an insulated floor as you want, but if it's cold underneath that floor, the floor will never be warm. Now, the floor will be a lot warmer with the foam in place, but it still wouldn't be what you call warm. So if you want a warm floor, then an excellent option is to put some kind of electric in-floor heating on top of everything, right underneath your finished floor. There are some great systems out there. Ditra Heat, made by a company called Schluter, works really well. It's easy to install, it's effective, it's efficient, and most of all, it's reliable. I have installed and seen installed other electric in-floor heating systems, and it's not uncommon for other brands to fail in time, and that's a real hassle because you have to pick up the whole finished floor to find out what the problem is, and then replace it and put your finished floor back. The Schluter system, never heard of anyone having any trouble with it, and it just works wonderfully well. Now, as I read David's email, I was concerned as I started to work down it for the first time, because many times, even with professionals, they'll say, oh, well, you want a warm floor, you got to put some kind of skirting around that opening, so you're enclosing it. And I really disagree with that. Now, David's not going to do that, but if you're tempted to do that for yourself, let me tell you why you shouldn't. First of all, not going to make much of a difference. You can put skirting around there, you can put insulation around the skirting to try and boost the R value, but the fact is there's no heat source down there in your crawl space. So you can put all the insulation on you like, and it's only going to make marginal difference. So first of all, it doesn't work. It doesn't actually deliver the goods. But more importantly than that, whenever you enclose a crawl space, especially one where there's just natural soil underneath, which is what David's facing, then you run the very real risk of allowing humidity at certain times of the year to come up really high because the skirting doesn't allow ventilation, and that can lead to amazingly fast rotting of the floor frame. I have seen two cabins, for instance, identical, side by side, one with an enclosed skirt around it, one without. When I looked in the enclosed skirt one, opened the door, there wasn't even any floor frame there. It had all rotted away and people just discarded it away, whereas the other one was as good as the day it was built. So do not put on skirting. There's a third reason too, and that's animals love to get in there when it's enclosed, and they're going to set up shop and give you all kinds of problems. So David's on the right track, and so is anyone who wants to warm up a floor. David's situation, he's building a cabin, he's following my design and my course, that's one thing. But there are lots of homes across North America where you have a bedroom in a space above an unheated garage. I get emails from people all the time. What can I do to warm the floor? Well, it's the same process. Put some extruded polystyrene foam on top of whatever floor you've got, another layer of subfloor, and then your new finished floor. That will give you insulation, and then you add the in-floor heating, and you've got a great combination. It works very, very well. And since you're only warming the floor, you're not actually heating the space with that in-floor electric business, then it's quite economical. If you just use it just enough to keep your feet warmish, you're probably not even going to notice it on your electricity bill. So.